Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Duckville here with a Protoss versus Terran. It's going to be from the EU server up in the GM ranks, featuring two players. You may have heard of one of them. You might not have heard of our red Protoss player down at the bottom right-hand side here. Playing for Team Sgeht, which I can't remember what it means in German. I sort of know random bits of random languages, but I think I know. I think it means sort of something like, I think it's like good or maybe sort of average or is good. I can't remember. Anyway, his name is DelKing. He's been playing Warcraft 3 for quite a while back in the day and made the switch over to StarCraft 2, obviously the superior game. There you go, Warcraft users, come at me. Yeah, he's been doing quite well. Obviously a German player as well, one of the very many quite decent German players that are around in the EU scene, of course, including Goody, TLO, Sgeht, and Haswabs, who was still around. I mean, Haswabs has been around for quite a while. Speaking of being around for quite a while, DelKing's opponent up at the top left-hand side, now playing for Team Empire after a short stint with, I believe it was with FXO for a little while. It is Braddock. This guy has been around since like the dawn of time, basically. He's been a very, very good Terran player through Brood War and then now through StarCraft 2 and making his work known in Heart of the Swarm as well. He's not necessarily known for taking huge, big tournaments. He's not going to win your GSL Codes or anything like that, but he is certainly still a very high-level quality Terran player, and he's done, as I said, done quite well throughout his history. He's quite a well-known player, especially from the Brood War scenes, where he had a really good macro style of Terran, and then has of course translated that through into StarCraft 2 as well, and is known for being very aggressive as well. So hopefully we'll get to see him put on some aggression here today. Looks like he is going to open us up with a Rax. A bit of gas is coming out as well. Nothing too crazy coming out of Braddock for the moment. His opponent DelKing looks to be going for possibly a 1-gate expand. We've only got the 1 gas at the moment. This particular build was utilized quite a lot, a very regular, very standard sort of opening in Protoss versus Terran during Wings of Liberty towards sort of the mid, when it was sort of made a little bit more standard, and then towards the late stages of Wings of Liberty. Now in Heart of the Swarm, it's not used as much. Like, a lot of people will get their second gas up, maybe put 2 workers in both the gases, and then go for a style along those lines. My PC is going a little bit crazy. I don't know why. If you guys have been watching me streaming lately, my PC has been going crazy. I cannot even explain why. I'm thinking I may have to get a new one. But anyway, this particular 1-gate expand style, yeah, there it is. There's the Nexus. So he's gone a little bit old school here, DelKing. Has decided to change things up. Braddock is going to find it, as we can see, just heading down towards the natural. Sees that and says, alright, well, this opens up a couple of things. You can do a little bit of pressure right at the start, perhaps with a couple of racks, a couple of, maybe if you can get some bunkers up, that kind of thing. Of course, this mothership call will definitely help in deflecting any kinds of pressure along those lines. So DelKing has gone for sort of a very defensive-based opening here, where he's gotten his expansion rolling down at the natural here. The mothership core is the first unit that we see come out. She wants to build up her energy, not only for the photon overcharge, but also for a couple of time warps. If you can throw those down to help defend against any sort of early marine pressure, then DelKing will certainly be very comfortable with this expansion. Meanwhile, for Braddock, after spotting his opponent go for the quick expand down towards his natural, he's going to take his own command center here, and we'll see him move into what looks to be a very sort of standard sort of game. We've got the second racks now coming up, just the reactor on that first barracks there, so we're not going to see any quick stem or anything like that, which is a possible way to try and counteract an opponent utilizing a very quick 1-gate expand here. But DelKing is going for something which I have not seen for quite a while. Yet again, a build which was around for a little while, but then sort of faded out. It's this very, very quick forge to get the +1 ground armor. This is something which I first actually saw Harstem, of course now a player in Fnatic, saw him utilizing, where you get out a really quick forge to get that quick armor rolling. You only need to get sort of one, maybe two gates right at the start, because if you can crank out a couple of sentries and then a few zealots, the zealots with their +1 armor, a cannon or two down at the natural, and you'll be fine against any sort of pressure that the Terran might want to try and push on you. So we can see that Braddock is now moving about. He's got a few Marines, 9 Marines in total, just trying to wander around, trying to see if there are any proxy pylons or anything like that. Of course, DelKing has not really made his way across the map too much. In fact, he hasn't scouted at all, so he doesn't know exactly what is going on here for Braddock, but we can assume that he is going to get up some sort of scouting very soon. Like, we do have that Stalker wandering about, but this guy is not going to get too far with all these Marines now at the front door of Braddock, and he's going to go to work on those destructible rocks, possibly looking towards that macro game. As we mentioned before, he's a very, very solid macro player, and certainly can take a game into the macro phases, even against the Protoss. So we'll see if he does decide to go in that particular direction. We've got a second forge now done for DelKing. Really going hard on these upgrades here. It looks like he will get started on +1 weapons very quickly here. Certainly has the resources for it. There you go. Alright, get started on that. We've got the Chrono Boosters finished up the Warp Gate tech, so we see a Twilight Council. Gates number 3 and 4 going down. Possibly 5 and 6 will come along, we'll see. There is a possibility of a timing here where he could get out a couple of really quick upgrades, get a couple more gates, and go for a push, because at the moment he's sitting on quite a decent economy. 47 probes around, 2 at a time coming out of the 2 Nexi that DelKing has available. Meanwhile, for Braddock, he's got his 3rd gas now just coming up down at the natural. 37 SCVs are out for him. We're going to throw down a turret just at the natural here to protect against any observers that might come out. And Braddock, well, he's looking for that possible, that 11-minute timing, sort of a 10 to 11-minute timing, depending on how quickly you want to utilize it, with a lot of Marines. There's going to be, wow, there's going to be so many Marines coming across with this first push if he does decide to go for it. Stim now finishing up, 2 medevacs about to come out, and we'll probably see him start to make his way across the map. This sort of, around about sort of halfway to around about 2/3 of the +1 weapons being done. This is normally when a Terran will start to look to push out across the map, and Braddock is going to do exactly that. 2 medevacs just cruising right on past the Stalker here, so if DelKing is not prepared for this, then he's seriously got some issues when it comes to finding out what's going on around the map. So Braddock does have to drop out. He's going to get rid of the Stalker there at the front door, wants to make sure that he is nicely protected. DelKing throws down a cannon at the back. It's not often you get to see players really going for this sort of turtley style. This is something which, as I said, I have not seen for quite a while. He's now got 7 gates up and running. Templar Archives on the way. Very quick charge also coming out, and +2 to armor already just under halfway done. So DelKing is really, really looking to power up his tech, move into a mode where we'll probably see him go for Archons and charge, and try and look for a timing here where he can just bust through the front door with very strong units. The Photon Overcharge on the Nexus goes down, the factory drops down. Very clever work there by Braddock to drop the factory down. This is going to soak up some of the shots. Of course, the prioritization of the Nexus means that if these Marines step into range of this of the Photon Overcharge Nexus, then the Marines will take the shots. But for the moment, the factory is the one taking the shots. But as you can see, DelKing is fine to defend with these 101 Zealots, a couple of sentries at the back, and that Photon Overcharge on the Nexus, keeping things at bay. He's able to hold that push, and well, Braddock, I'm a little bit surprised that he committed to that so much. There were quite a few Zealots there. We saw those sentries as well. There's now an Archon, and it looks like, well, Braddock is in a little bit of an awkward spot right now. He forgot to macro up a bit back home. We've seen him almost at around about 1,000 minerals there. Not often you get to see Braddock do something like that. But his armory is up. He's got his +2 to weapons now, researching as well. And with a few Marines and Marauders at the front, he should be okay to defend against this for the moment. But we don't want to see is him pushing out too far, getting force fielded and trapped like this behind, well, in a position where he really should not be. So Braddock is losing units by the handful right here, and he has to be extremely careful. Archons now coming through. +2 to armor is now done on them, so they'll survive quite a few shots here from these Marauders and the Marines. And with the time warp, we can see that Braddock will keep himself alive for the time being. But the fact that he sold the bunker right at the start and no extra bunkers have gone up signal that Braddock is just going to try and really just brute force himself into this game right here. We haven't seen too many extra drops going down, so DelKing has been able to macro up quite hard behind this, up to 53 probes back at his main base. The 4 medevacs going to help in healing up all of these units. Braddock forced to retreat to the safety of the ramp, but with 4 Archons, that ramp might not even save him, and there you go. A force field on the ramp. The Zealots going to work inside the main mineral line there, of the natural, I should say, and Braddock is losing quite a lot of his SCVs, and he's going to try and drop out some of the units on the low ground here, and the Marines with their +1 to weapons will certainly be able to chew through these units, but it takes so much time when you're dealing with 202 Protoss units here, and the Archons come to the front door of the ramp there and just put up the pimp fist and go to town on some of those bio units. You've got to keep in mind that these Archons do so much damage now. Plus, it's 43 damage against bio units, so they are able to tear up these Marines and the Marauders that are here. So it looks like Braddock is in a little bit of trouble right here, right now. His natural is forced to lift up. He did land a 3rd orbital command over here at this base, but it looks like he's not going to get too much done there. A time warp inside the main base here is going to slow down some of the bio units from getting too far. But it looks like Braddock is he seriously... What are you doing, DelKing? He's sort of fiddling about trying to defend back at home. A double drop coming out from Braddock at the natural base here. These Marines and Marauders, their +2 weapons now kicking in. Will they be able to salvage something here from Braddock? Because he's falling down into a little bit of a troublesome spot. When you've got a Protoss that is up to 3 next eye, cranking out the probes, cranking out the units consistently, DelKing is going to, despite losing some of these units here, he may be in a very, very strong spot right now. And in fact, with all of these warp gates now kicking in, I don't think Braddock is going to get too much more work done. But he's been able to keep his natural command center alive, so we'll see that land back down. And despite the heavy pressure that was put on there by DelKing, he wasn't able to finish off his opponent, but he is in a very strong position. As we can see, DelKing up to 52 workers right now. He's against a total of 28 from Braddock, and Braddock is just doing his best to try and keep some of these units alive, make these medevacs as cost efficient as possible, and he has done a little bit of damage. I mean, it's not as if Braddock has done absolutely nothing this game. 8 workers killed is, you know, it's not a huge total, but it's at least something, and he's going to try and salvage it from here. And if he can, it's obviously a very, very good fight back for our Russian Terran player in Team Empire, but I mean, it is going to be very, very tough from this point forward. He's going to have no real resources to get started on the +2 on the armor upgrades, nor is he going to be able to get +3 anytime soon. He does need to get his economy back into shape. We can see him down on 32 workers right now, struggling to mine from this natural base. His main base is all but depleted, and now we can see another battle going on. A couple of good EMPs from the Ghost of Braddock will get rid of some of the shields here, and he actually hit one of the Archons. That Archon is very low. He's only got 42 shields right now, slowly cranking back up, but as we can see, with charge now active, 203 upgrades on these Zealots, these guys are just going to shred apart all of these bio units, and Braddock wisely falls back to the safety of the ramp. We'll talk about why that's safe in just a second, but DelKing deciding to push forwards. I'm not sure if that's the best idea to try and run into that, but across to the side we can see that some of these Zealots got into the natural mineral line and somewhere down here at the 3rd as well, and Braddock is just continuously losing SCVs at this point. He is doing a little bit of micro himself across at DelKing's base, salvaging a couple of these Marauders, and they do get a couple of kills, but I mean, this is not going to go too far from now. That Marauder is very low on health. The medevac is 1 shot away from death, basically, from any of the Protoss units, and Braddock is still in a very, very troublesome situation right here. 22 workers to a total of 55, so Braddock has certainly got his work cut out for him right now. As we said, this sort of position here, the reason why this is safe, if you're a little bit unsure, is that this is a bit of a choke point. If Braddock can fall to a position just sort of along this sort of line here, where his units will be very very clumped up, and they'll be able to focus fire on anything that comes up the ramp from DelKing, then he'll be able to really trade efficiently there. So that's why that's a little bit of a safe position for Braddock, if he can just sort of, it sort of maximizes the efficiency of his units here. And speaking of which, this medevac's still alive, but not for long. I do not think one Stalker comes along, gets the shot off, and down goes that medevac. So Braddock's continuous harassment with that medevac finally comes to an end. But I mean, look at this. We've got the Robo Bay now up and running. We'll probably see a Colossus get started very, very soon from DelKing. And once those guys are out on the field, when you've got Archons, you've got Templar with Storm, which is just still on the way, and some Colossus on the field, things get very, very tough for a Terran player, especially when their economy has been reduced to rubble effectively. As we can see, it looks like Braddock is finally going to try and re-establish his 3rd base. A probe across to the side is going to camp out here and try and block off this orbital command if he can. But I mean, look at the resources here. The natural base, all but mined out. We've got a lot of mules going to work here. The mine base is, the main base, sorry, is all but done. +2 on the armor on the way, +3 on the weapons is also coming along. But I mean, as we said before, he's in such a tough position at this point. Braddock is going to have to pull out the play and game of his life if he's going to be able to win this one, because it's going to be very tough. But as you can see, DelKing, very sneaky off to the side, wants to try and get a pylon down, not going to get too much done there. Braddock spots it, does take it down, and the third base will be safe for the moment. But, you know, the big question will be, can Braddock get his economy back into a position here where he can macro up, he can utilize all of these racks? We can see right now a very uncommon thing to see in a Terran player's gameplay is all of these racks. It's only 5 racks, just keep in mind. 5 racks that aren't actually doing anything right now. So, you know, it's not as if he has bad macro at this point. It's the fact that his mining has just been reduced to absolutely nothing. So we can see the DelKing slowly moving his way across the map right now. One of the Colossus is on the way. A second robo facility being built as well. That's going to add in quite a lot of power here if he's able to just continuously chrono boost double Colossi out at a time. Braddock has seen what's going on and has started up some of those Vikings here. But, I mean, it's still just going to be... He's going to have to invest into Vikings, which means that he won't necessarily be able to get as many ghosts out. And, you know, if you can't get the ghosts out, you can't throw down the EMPs on these Templar, on the Zealots, on the Archons. And then that means that despite the fact that you may have those Vikings to deal with the Colossi, you're not going to do as well on the ground. So DelKing continuously upgrading his units. We see those forges have stopped spinning for the moment, but I mean, these Colossi now have 303. Would not be surprised to see DelKing get started on +1 to shields very soon. But that said, he is building up quite a lot of units right now. Colossus coming out. We've got a Warp Prism that has just been added in, and he's gonna use that for some storm drops. This is gonna be not necessarily like your average sort of backdoor and gonna come through you know, the backside here and drop in on your SCVs and throw down some storms, but this is going to be utilized as a way to protect the Templar from being EMP'd. Now, this isn't something which people do too often, where they use this sort of strategy. It's something that was utilized quite a lot in Brood War, whereby you would put Templar in shuttles to protect them from being taken out by EMPs of science vessels and those kinds of things. You could do the exact same thing here in StarCraft 2. You keep the Warp Prism up in the air with the Templar inside, and then, you know, if an EMP goes down on these Templar that are just down here to the side, then that's not actually too much of an issue, because you can, you know, you've still got 4 more up inside that Warp Prism. So really nice strategy coming out here from DelKing. As I said, it's not something you get to see too often, but a lot of players do use it when they remember to, and as we can see, DelKing is going to be one of those players right now. So Vikings up in the sky, and now number 10. That is quite a lot of Vikings here. A little bit of an overreaction perhaps, but DelKing is moving into position right now. His Warp Prism off to the side. Will he be able to get a shot off? Oh wow, the Warp Prism goes down without even dropping out a single Templar. So that's a Warp Prism and Templar that have now gone down. The Vikings going to town on the Colossi, and Braddock, is this the battle to bring him back into the game? Lands the Vikings to try and just keep as much DPS on the ground as he can, because there is a spare Templar at the back that somehow made its way across. There was one up on the top of the ridge here, but that got taken out, I believe. But now 4 DTs have snuck their way inside the main base of Braddock, and these guys can go to town on not only the tech buildings here, but this is a point where you could possibly invest in taking out some of these supply depots and stop the production of the Terran player so that they can't macro up as hard as they would like to. You know, these kinds of things, it's obviously a personal decision from the players, but as we can see, Braddock is going to come back inside, throws down a scan, it gets 1, it gets 2, does he get the 3rd up at the top? Yes he does, and the 4th across to the side with the 2nd scan. So Braddock keeps himself in the game at the moment. It's not necessarily a death blow to DelKing. I mean, as we mentioned before, he's got double robos being able to crank out those Colossi as quickly as possible. Templar now coming out. He has a 4th base with all of that extra gas now coming in, and that means that he's, yeah, you know, as we said before, he's not necessarily dead from that sort of situation here. And with these continual DT harassments that have come out from DelKing, he's going to slow down the economy and the growth of his opponents. So it looks as if Braddock has found a way to slowly claw himself back in. We're up at 120 supply for him right now. His upgrades are looking good too. We've got 2-3 now done. We're looking for that +3 on the armor to come out as well, and that will just really give him a position where he can possibly even start looking to get back into drops or something like that, like perhaps a double drop into this third base. There is a lot of exposed tech here, like as we said before, we've got the double robo here able to be sniped. The robo bay is also available, and not only that, but if he can take out this Nexus, that is going to put Braddock in a position again where he can look to possibly keep himself in a spot where he can salvage this game. So we'll see how he goes. We've got Colossi continually streaming out. We've got 2 already out on the field, another one being chrono boosted out right now. Archon's being added in, and it looks as if DelKing is going to go for attempt number 2 with the Warp Prism. It's actually behind the head. It's inside the head of that Colossus there, but there is a Warp Prism here. There you go. All right, there you go. So it's got 4 Templar in it, and you know, he'll go for attempt number 2 using that Warp Prism to try and drop off some Templar with some storms. What you would normally see from players when they do this, like one of the key players that I see do this particular this little maneuver, we should say, is they will flank. They'll come from the front. Like let's say this is the battle position right now. What most players would like to do, for example, Huck, he'll come in at the front, say, here's my Colossi, here are my Zealots, all these kind of things, and then the Warp Prism will come through on the side, and then come in the back while the Vikings are busy firing against all of those Colossi, drop the Templar off here, and then throw down some storms, not only in the position where the army is right at the time, like right on sort of this sort of spot, but at the back where they would retreat off to the sides as well, and then you can really just blanket your opponent and really get a lot of damage done. So we'll see if that is the plan here from DelKing. I would really like to see him utilize it that way, but at the moment he's getting his 5th base up and running here. He's up to 73 probes right now, that sort of money amount that you just want to sit on for the rest of eternity. And you know, if his economy stays in this shape, we'll still say that DelKing is in a very powerful position right here. The Colossi now starting to come out. +1 on the shields is done. +2 not researching just yet, but we can assume that that will be coming through very soon. Meanwhile, some small proxy attacks from DelKing. We've got a Zealot controlling the watchtower, a pylon across to the side, and he's even looking to take a 6th base now. So we'll see how well he can take into account the fact that he was quite far ahead in the game and now is at a bit of an even position, but not necessarily too even. As we said before, Braddock's still not in this game sort of in a position where he's got it by the reins. He's still only got, you know, we're looking at a game that's at the 30-minute mark, and he's got, what, 7 racks, I think, in total. Let's have a look on this handy-dandy counter. Yeah, just 7 barracks in this main base for Braddock right now. So normally at this sort of position of a game, you'd see a Terran with anywhere up to like 9, 10, sometimes even 12, 13, and that's sort of the macro position you would really want to see a Terran in. But as we can see, DelKing has been able to slow everything down, and here we go. We may have another battle down towards the attempted 6th base of DelKing. Did Braddock? You did see the pylon. I'm not sure why he's not engaging that, but we have DelKing just sort of maneuvering around, trying to keep himself in a position where he can either move up towards the top and defend that way, or, as we can see here, move down towards the 6th base and keep that one operational. Now, one thing which we can see here from Braddock is the fact that he has so many ghosts. This is a really interesting point for a Terran player. When you get to this sort of huge count of ghosts, 21 ghosts out on the field, ghosts do a lot of damage. Like, don't get me wrong, ghosts do 26 damage to Zealots and things like that. But the big problem is that other than that, what else does Braddock have right here? 9 Marines, 15 Marauders. What is going on here? And we can see the EMPs are thrown down, the Vikings coming in from the side, but Templar throwing down a couple of storms does a lot of damage. But Braddock, he just, as we said before, he just doesn't have enough on the ground, despite the very huge amount of ghosts that were there. As we can see, ghosts, there's now 3 of them. There's now nothing else basically on the ground. These Vikings decide to land to try and salvage something at this point. But DelKing has just got all the upgrades. He's got all the power here. He's got this huge economy behind him, and he can just continuously take out the armies. He can even just start sort of army trading at this point, and it wouldn't really matter to DelKing. So Braddock, unfortunately, it looks like he is going to go down in this game against the German Protoss player DelKing. But DelKing, I mean, very, as we said before, right at the start of the game, a very interesting sort of game where you utilize the strategy that isn't seen too often, that that one gate expand, then using that very quick +1 armor build, which is something which I have not seen for quite a while. So really nicely done by DelKing, bringing out something a little bit old school here, and well, unfortunately for Braddock, not able to pull it out in this game. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure you share the videos and that kind of thing on, you know, Facebook, Twitter, all those cool things, and I'll catch you all next time. If you've got some Hellbats at the front, there's actually not too much that you're going to be able to do against that. It'd be a slow push inside that third base. So this position, at least, there's a little bit more space. Of course, there is a very similar sort of attack path from the south here.